What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Bomarito Automotive Group. Bomarito is Missouri's #1 car dealership with over 20 locations, so I guarantee that there's one in your neighborhood. Since the 1970s, Bomarito has sold over 1 million cars, and John and the entire team made us feel completely comfortable when we picked up our new vehicle recently for the family. So I can't thank the Bomarito team enough for driving this episode forward, and enjoy the show.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home. Yeah.
Welcome back to the STL Bucket List Show. We're here with somebody that's very special to St. Louis, beyond baseball, doing some family charity work with the Jay Family Foundation. But I'm a huge baseball guy. So 2011, I was a freshman in high school, and I was downtown watching the game. I didn't have enough money to go to the game, but I was watching the game. And you were a big part of that 2011 World Series championship. So Jon Jay, welcome to the show, man.
No, thanks for having me. Yeah, and, obviously an incredible year, 2011, something that changed my life forever.
Yeah, man. I want to talk a little bit about what being a World Series champion means, because for us that grew up in St. Louis, playing baseball, as you know, living in St. Louis some of the time, baseball is everything for us. The Midwest is the Cardinals, have probably more fans. They're probably a top 3 franchise in the entire MLB just with their fans. But so when we watch this, we see this incredible show. But what does it mean for you coming from Miami, going to the U of Miami, and then coming to St. Louis and winning a World Series championship? Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was incredible. And it's funny how just everything works out, right? In baseball, you get drafted, you go to the minor leagues, and obviously, you try to make it to the big club. But for me, it was something I'll never forget. The meeting I had with my scout, Steve Turco, who was a longtime member of the St. Louis Cardinals. It just like everything felt at home, and like the things he was telling me was incredible. He was like, one day you're gonna hit second in front of Albert Pujols, and one day you can play center field, and it's just so funny. Like everything was just manifested from that situation. Then, just learning baseball, growing up in St. Louis, it was unbelievable. And for me, honestly, I remember getting to spring training and just learning the history of the St. Louis Cardinals, right, where I wasn't really, I didn't really know all the history, and then going to spring training and seeing Bob Gibson, and obviously I knew who Ozzie Smith was, but Stan Musial and like all these great guys that I got to meet, and I remember going home and like getting on the internet and like seeing what they've done in their careers and then getting to know them. So it was just like the perfect fit. And then like I said, I got to play there for 6 years, win a World Series, and there's so many good memories in St. Louis. And I actually had more ties to St. Louis. My wife's actually from St. Louis. She played soccer at the University of Miami. So that's kind of why I've lived there. We still have a home there. I spent a lot of time there, holidays, different things. So, St. Louis is always special to me for sure.
Wow, that's cool. So your wife you guys met in college, but she was from St. Louis, and then you got drafted in the second round by the Cardinals, and you're like, hey, babe, we're going back to St. Louis. But you had to go to like minors, Memphis, and all that stuff. But then you made it back to St. Louis, and she was probably stoked. She was like, oh my gosh, let's go.
It was amazing. So, in the off seasons, she was still at the University of Miami. So, Jupiter spring training was right there, so it worked out perfect. Then in the summer, she would go back to St. Louis to be with her family, and then she can come to Springfield and to Memphis. So we did the whole journey together. And it's funny when people when people see us now, it's like, oh yeah, my wife has. No, like she was there from day one, saw it all. Came when I was in the minor leagues and the buses and all that. So it's just it's just a cool little story there.
No, that's amazing. One of my favorite things was like your swing. So, you're this lefty, but you had this like little, you had that little motion with that. So like, where did you learn baseball? Where did you learn that swing? Because it was probably one of the most unorthodox swings of your time, because it was like this timing where the leg was up, boom, and then through. So tell us about growing up. Tell us about growing up in Miami and kind of where you learned to love the game of baseball.
Yeah, it was definitely unorthodox. That's a good way to say it. No, so baseball just was, I was very lucky growing up as a kid. In Miami, baseball was huge. My parents are Cuban. Baseball in Cuba is huge. So it was just something that, in Miami, every time, you look to the right, you look left, there was a baseball field everywhere when I was growing up in the early 90s. So, but it was funny. I never had pressure to play baseball as a kid. I loved soccer. I loved baseball. And I just kind of fell in love with baseball. I remember playing both sports until I was like 10, 11 years old, and then those Saturdays got kind of complicated. And then I don't know, it's just something about baseball that I just loved the game of baseball, and that was the game, the sport I fell in love with.
Yeah. And then you ended up going to the University of Miami. So, growing up in Miami, went to the school that every kid, growing up watching football when all those stars were playing at Miami, like it's this huge thing to be a Hurricane. So, when you went to the U of Miami, like, did you know you were going to go to the pros, or was there a moment where your coaches were like, hey man, like you're going to get drafted? Or did you always know coming out of high school that you were going to go to the pros?
So I didn't, like we talked about growing up playing baseball in Miami. It was just so competitive. I remember, so much talent coming out of Miami, and like, you see it now where so many guys have come before me and after me now as well. So my goal was honestly like I needed to figure out a way to go to college. Like I was like, baseball's gonna be my ticket to get a scholarship and go to college. So, and then my dream was always to be a Miami Hurricane since I was a kid. That's like I always wanted to wear the orange and green colors, and so my goal was always to just go to UM. And it's funny, in high school I'll get some questionnaires from scouts or whatnot, and like I literally would just toss them up and throw them away. I was like, man, I'm not. I just never thought of myself as that guy since I played with so many talented guys. So my goal was to go to the University of Miami, and then I had a pretty good freshman year, sophomore year, and I think after my sophomore year was when I kind of realized like, man, I can maybe make a career out of this, and there's something here. So after my sophomore year, I got picked on the USA team, the college USA team, and that for me was like that turning point, right? Where I've read about all these guys my whole life, and then I'm standing there next to these guys, and like a guy that I got to play with there was St. Louis legend, local guys, Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer was on my team there. He had gone to Mizzou, so I got to play with Max Scherzer and David Price and Drew Stubbs. So so many guys that like I had read about for a long time, and then to be with them there. So I never had that pressure of like those top picks that had to make all these decisions, and like you see like a Jackson Holiday now, and he's had to deal with so much, and it was pretty cool watching him conduct an interview the other day as a 19-year-old kid. It's like he sounds like he's a seasoned veteran, which is pretty cool. But yeah, baseball was I never had that pressure. I never thought like in high school like, hey, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. That was I always valued my education, and I wanted to go to college for sure.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, there's a certain thing, like I think of Bryce Harper, LeBron James, like those number one picks, like they've had pressure on them since they were like 14 years old, and it's a lot. And Bryce has weathered the storm and had a great career. LeBron obviously had a great career, but there's something about that grittiness, even though you were picked in the second round. Like there's like
I was.
yeah, there's like 60 guys still that were picked in front of you. So you're like, hey man, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. There's still like a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, but you were playing with house money at that point. You got the scholarship. You're like, let's go to the league, and then you get called up to the majors. You got called up about 2010. So getting called up, playing a game at Busch Stadium, I mean that had to have been surreal. Your first game. Do you remember it? Your first game?
Oh, absolutely. It was April 26th, 2010.
Hey.
And I remember I got called up. I was in Oklahoma City. Nothing more special than calling your parents and telling them like, hey, I'm getting called up, and my friends and my family. And I always say like it took a village for me to get to the point where I was then and even now. So it was so cool to just call the people that helped me get to that point and let them know that I was going to St. Louis. And then I'll never forget. I showed up in the middle of the game. It was like the third inning. I get there, and Chris Carpenter was throwing that day. Obviously, a Cardinal legend, and I remember it was like the fifth inning. His pitch count was kind of high, and we didn't know if they were going to pinch hit or not. And they said, "No, we're not going to pinch hit." So I kind of just, was hanging on. And they're like, "Hey, you're pinch hitting." So I was happy the way it happened. I got thrown right into the fire, and struck out my first at bat, which isn't what you envision. But it was cool just to say, I'm a major leaguer. I was really here, and and obviously, being part of a storied franchise like the Cardinals, right, where championships and the classiness of the organization. So for me, it meant a lot to get called up by the Cardinals because I remember being in the minor leagues and there's always veteran teams. So I spent almost 2 years in AAA, and I remember we'd see guys getting called up left and right on other teams, other organizations. And I remember our group of guys always saying how special it's going to be when we do get called up in St. Louis and how we would have a chance to hopefully win a championship. So those were the kind of the thoughts that we had in the minor leagues. And then for those things to happen after was, it was all gravy. It was awesome.
That's amazing, man. I could talk about baseball all day, but I really want to talk about the work that you're doing beyond the game. You had a career. You played with the Padres, the Cubs, which we won't talk too much about, the White Sox, Diamondbacks. You had some stints with the Angels. So you had this really great career. You earned a great living for your family, but it doesn't stop there. You're still coaching, but you also started the Jay Family Foundation. So I want to read something off your guys' website and then let you kind of talk about the foundation and a little bit about what you're doing. So it says here that our mission is to create a positive impact on the lives of children, families, and communities by providing them with the resources that they need to thrive. And then you go off those three pillars with youth development, community, and scholarship. So does that sound accurate? Can you expand on kind of what your guys' mission and goals are there?
Yeah, that's perfect. So, as a player, and honestly, like philanthropy is something I learned in St. Louis, right? Philanthropy is huge in the city of St. Louis, and it was something that I really appreciated. I remember, getting called up, and Tony LaRusso would have this charity events, Adam Wainwright, Matt Holliday. Like, there's always something going on, which was pretty cool. So, back when I played, I actually hosted a bowling event in St. Louis, and then my wife, and we'll get to that now. My wife, the Cardinals' wives always did a great job of hosting a Make a Wish Foundation event at the Flemings.
Mhm.
So my wife was kind of in charge of that for 2 years, and then as a player, we always had a bowling tournament down in Miami where we'd raise money with the Boys and Girls Club. So what we've been able to do over the years is provide kids with scholarships to let's say University of Miami baseball camp, or taking them from the inner city and putting them in baseball academies, or providing trips, like what we've done now a lot is providing these groups with tickets to the Marlins games or whatnot. And then also with my high school getting involved, that's kind of the scholarship side with helping out with financial aid, and for kids that I went to all boys private high school, so trying to kind of help with that. So it's something that I'm very passionate about, and it's something that when I got done playing, I was looking forward to doing more with, and that's when we got together, and we actually established our own foundation where we're able to do so many wonderful things. So that's something, just like I said, I know how many people have helped me get to the point where I'm at, and if you can change the life of one person, it makes it all worth it. So
Mhm.
we've seen that where we've been able to do that, and it's funny. I was talking to my dad the other day, where a lot of these kids that we had as youngsters, they're 10, 11 years old. They're not necessarily playing baseball anymore, but we were able to keep them off the streets. And a lot of them, there's a couple of them that are top football prospects, or
Mhm.
and have been able to go and do really well in high school and they're going to college. So that's what it's all about, is just paying it forward, and
Mhm.
using this platform we have to just help others.
Yeah, no, I think that that's great. Is it something special about kids? Because everybody has their own thing. You mentioned Wainwright. He's his Brace for Impact doing incredible right now, and all these other guys. They each have their own thing that they're passionate about. Is it something about your upbringing or being with the kids that it's like, hey, I just want to give back, and if I can help one person get that scholarship, or it all starts with one person at a time. But was there a reason why you went in that direction? Because you could have done a lot of different things with philanthropy, but you decided to do the kids and scholarships and stuff.
Yeah, I think kids is where it's at. We're all born into different situations. That's just the reality of things, right? Like, and as a kid, you have no choice on where you're brought into this world. So, if we can help those kids that are don't have the resources, or don't have the guidance that's needed in life, that's what it's all about for me. For the kids, they're so kids are so innocent, right? We literally mold them, and I have 3 kids of my own, and
Yeah.
you get to mold them, and kind of help shape their lives. So kids is always something I've been very, very, very passionate about, and so it's fun. And then somebody else I want to mention too is Jason Mott. He does still so much with K Cancer and all this. So like, I was lucky to be around guys that, like, this was a priority for them, and they really went out there and did it, and they continue to do it, which is something that's remarkable.
Yeah, no, I think that that's true too. I actually just became a dad 30 days ago. So
Congrats, sweet.
that's I got my girl dad hat on that my wife got me. But my wife usually hosts the podcast with us. But we can't do that right now. It's too hard. Can't coordinate that. But yeah, my wife and I started the podcast together about 4 years ago. And really just with one goal, to highlight the people that make this city special. And you're one of those people, but it goes way beyond St. Louis. You're doing stuff in Miami, in your hometown, but you're also coming back to St. Louis. So you're doing an event April 5th with the Family Golf and Learning Center. So tell us about the golf tournament. Are you a big golf guy, or are you gonna be out there?
I'm half and half. I say it. Like, I like to be outside, but I do enjoy golf, and
Yeah.
I actually get to play more golf in St. Louis than I do in Miami or whatnot. But yeah, I have a great relationship with Adam Betts. We became friends a couple years ago, and he just does so many good things with the community as well. He's part of the PGA Reach that does a great job. That's the foundation arm of the PGA,
Hmm.
and he does so many wonderful things. So I think it was in 2022 when I was done playing, and so when I got done playing, I actually went back to school for a year, and I just didn't know what I was going to get into in the future. So I was there that summer, and we were able to have an event there that was great. And so yeah, so it just happened to work out when we looked at the schedule, where we get to open up in St. Louis as a Martin, which is so cool. And
Hmm.
get to kind of obviously I'm on the other side now, but I mean, opening day in St. Louis is the most special opening day there is.
Hmm.
So it happens to work out where Thursday's opening day, April 4th, and then April 5th an off day. So I reached out to him, and he was great. He's like, yeah, let's do it, John, whatever you need from me. So,
Hmm.
he's a big part of this. And so it's nice to be able to do that. And then teaming up with the Make-A-Wish Foundation as well, which is, we've done work with them in the past. And it was nice. We were out at Nelly's Black and White Ball that they did a wonderful event and raised a lot of money for the Make-A-Wish event, and
Yeah.
kind of just got kind of reconnected with everybody there. And like I said, we spent the holidays in St. Louis. I spent when I got done playing, I was there. I think I went home in July of 2021. I was there all the way through Christmas. So we're back and forth to St. Louis. In the summer, my family actually goes out to St. Louis.
Hmm.
So we're St. Louis is home to me as well. Everyone knows like I love Miami and
Yeah.
Miami's my thing, but St. Louis, I mean that's it's my second home, for sure. And I plan on spending, the rest of our lives. We're going to always have that connection to St. Louis and spend a lot of time there.
It seems like a lot of athletes that aren't even from, St. Louis, they end up finding themselves spending a lot more time here after sports. And I think it's the way that the city gets behind you guys. And I'm sure that this tournament on the 5th, we're going to help promote it. But how can we support? Are you going to be selling teams? Are you guys still selling sponsorships and some other things to get involved with
Yeah,
that?
we're still sending sponsorships. You can email jfanfoundation at gmail.com. But if you just search on Eventbrite and then just search J Family Foundation, the event will pop up there. And like I said, it's just it's super fun for me to be able to make an impact. And like I said, like I'll never forget the support of St. Louis. And like I said, it kind of makes it a little different too, because I forgot to mention, like, my kids are born in St. Louis. All three of my
Okay.
kids are born in St. Louis. So
There you
like
go.
that's something that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
As well. So, like I said, I have so much love for the city of St. Louis, and just the way I was treated, as a ball player and not a ball player, it's been amazing. And then
Hmm.
even now, it's been, 2011, that's 13 years ago. And, when I go around St. Louis everywhere, like anytime I go anywhere, somebody mentions it, like yourself, right? Like
Hmm.
that memory and that bond of having like, hey, I remember I was a freshman in high school, or
Hmm.
I remember the coolest thing for me is when it's like, man, I remember watching, the games with my grandparents, or,
Hmm.
my parents, whatever the case may be, like that, having that connection. And, the way I've been treated here, it's been amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, we just love sports, and St. Louis, I think, is different in Miami, and that is like Miami is a blossoming city. It's crushing it, but there's so much going on in Miami that you get sometimes like the Marlins might get overlooked because Bad Bunny's in town and he's doing a big show here, or Hard Rock Casino's doing this, or whatever's going on. But like in St. Louis, it's like it's baseball, 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 and then family. That's how it is here. And we have the soccer team now, and we see the support that the soccer team is having as well. And it's really just something special. But like for people, being an athlete, it doesn't stop. You're not even 40 years old yet. So it's like, there's so much life to live and there's so much things to do. Cause you're also involved in, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you in entrepreneurship too? You're doing some things with the tequila company. I was kind of going down your Instagram, looking at some stuff. So you got your hands in a lot of things. You're coaching, you're doing all that. So you're staying busy, but you're also a dad at 3. So how do you balance all that?
I mean, for me, it's just I have great people around me, which is it makes everything, it helps out a lot. And the cool thing with baseball is like you have the off season, that downtime, right? 3.5 months, 4 months. So I kind of work hard with all these different things, and then a lot of these companies I'm involved with, but from afar, and just give ideas when I can. I'm lucky like that. There's great people running these companies. Like Los Santos Tequila, it's been great and expanding, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been fun now. We're actually looking to expand to South Florida, so December was my busy time. We're like setting up meetings and meeting different people or whatnot, and just kind of help spread that. But for me, really now, once it gets time to baseball season, it's all baseball, right? So
Mm-hmm.
even like with this event, right? It's early in the season, so we've done a lot of the legwork already, and we've been able to like really set everything up. And like I said, I have great people around me. Adam Betts has been great with everything as well. So
Mm-hmm.
it's fun to be able to do that. But I think, and then being a dad, being a dad is that's number one. But during the season, I get up every single morning and take my kids to school, and just try to spend as much time as I can with them. And then the off season is really when it's about them. And my wife, obviously, kudos to her always. And like you see now, like it's special what she does, and she holds down the fort all the time. So, shout out to Nikki always for, what she does with the kids for sure.
Shout out Nikki. No, it really is like that moment that your wife becomes a mom. Like we're 28. I don't know when you had your first kid, but I was like, I love my wife and we have a great time. But like once you see them have a baby and like take care of your daughter, son, whatever, your like immense love and protection goes like through the roof. Like I'm not getting mad about the same stuff I used to get mad about. Hey babe, what you need? Like we're only 30 days in, so give me a break here, John. But like I'm waiting on it. Like I'm just like, hey, what do you need? I'll do it. Like, but like before that, I was just like a dude. I wasn't thinking of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it's cool perspective, perspective. And then like so I said I had 3 kids, and so our first kids, we had twin girls. So
oh wow.
my wife was holding, and I was still playing at the time. So like I said, the perspective, all that. It's like you said, you don't get mad about the same things, and all these different things. So it's a beautiful thing.
So I want to talk about baseball and like you're into skating too, right? Skateboarding.
Yeah, so I like extreme sports is like my thing. So I mentioned like growing up, I loved extreme sports like rollerblading, inline skating, skateboarding.
Yeah.
But back then there just wasn't the resources, right? We didn't have skate parks, we didn't have all these different things now. So
Yeah.
it's funny because I love St. Louis because there are so many skate parks there. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm big time into skating. I actually like I like skating and all these things more than I do traditional sports now. Like I'll follow
Mhm.
skateboarders and surfers more than I do the NBA or the NFL right
Yeah.
now. So for sure,
They
skating
just
is
got so
like
much
my
more
favorite one.
swag. They got so much more swag. Like, I mean, Rob Deerdeck's like a guy that I listen to a lot just for business advice, but even just like skaters in general, like in St. Louis, you're right. We had that abandoned church that turned into a skate park that just burned down recently, Skate Laborious.
For sure. Yeah.
Incredible skate park. But I think that like in the future, like with baseball, it's like how do you meld fashion and culture? Like what the NBA is doing, they're doing fashion and culture and all these different things go into the sport. So where people are watching basketball just to see what outfit Russell Westbrook is wearing when he walks in. And there was a guy that used to play for St. Louis, Jack Flaherty. He was like always wearing like a new outfit every time he'd come into the stadium. But you kind of brought that before it was like it was around, like you were dressing up good, you're wearing the flat bill SB hats, and like now it's like become this thing where like all these players from the Dominican, it's just a different sport, and I like to see it because there's a little bit more swag on the field, and I think that the ownership is getting behind players like expressing themselves on the field, doing stuff outside of baseball. But how when were you like skating in St. Louis when you were here? You were just kind of like picking it up. I mean, they were probably like, "Yo, you need to chill on skating during the season. You can't get hurt."
Yeah, no, and I'll be no, when I was playing, I wasn't even on a regular board. I had a long board where like I could cruise, and like that was always like kind of my way to just like unwind type of thing.
Yeah,
But I wasn't ever like going to skate parks or like trying to all this stuff. Like that was much later on. Like that
yeah,
was probably like my last year playing. I already knew I was that veteran presence on the bench, and actually it happened during COVID where we had so much time, and like I finally picked up like a normal size board again, and then started hitting skate parks again. So I wasn't doing any of that stuff when I was playing. I kept it chill, but
yeah,
I did always like skating. Like I was always wearing SB stuff before, and I was always into dunks and like you said, like the clothes, the fashion, all that stuff. Like it's cool now that guys have a platform, and they have the tunnels and they have all these different things, and like
yeah.
now I'm like the older coach guy that's like there, but I tell the guys, I'm like, man, we were this is going on for a long time here, and even before me, of course, but
But you're the
yeah,
old
it's,
head now.
it's
You're the old head. They're like, man, come on, John. Like these kids are like 20 years old. They're so much cooler, man. I remember when I was your age. Come on now.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I'm the reference. I'm the reference. I'm like, I tell them what year those shoes came out. I'm like, you're 10 years old when those shoes came out, or whatnot. But
Yeah.
no, it's cool to see like how much looser things have gone, and how guys get to show their personality more, and kind of like who they are off the
Mhm.
field as well. Because I think people connect with that, and that's something that I think we've seen nowadays, and I think it's something that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I know the World Series was probably one of your best career moments, but I want to hear about like, was there a moment during your baseball career, besides winning the World Championship that was like, a career defining moment? Was it, something like during playing, or was besides? I mean, obviously the World Series. That's like, hey, I won the World Series. Like, I made it. I got this ring now. But besides that, was there like a moment in your career where you're like, I'm proud of what I'm doing, and this is special for us?
Honestly, I think it's the first day I got called up. Like,
Yeah.
like just getting called up to the big leagues and just hearing your name in a major league stadium. You walk up to your locker, and like, your name's there on a jersey, and like, I got to wear number 15 right away. Like, I think just that moment was like
Yeah.
surreal to me, right? Like, I couldn't predict that. Like, I was gonna be able to win a World Series and do all these different things. But just to say that I made it,
Hmm.
I think if you look at the numbers, I think there's 22,000 people in the history of the game that have, been able to call themselves a big leaguer. So like, I don't take that for granted. So for me just to say that, like, I played one day, and then like everything else is like, wow. And then obviously the World Series is a, it's a defining moment in your life where,
Hmm.
forever you could say you're a world champion. And then I think for me, the coolest thing is like the guys that I was able to do that with, right? Like, you look at Albert Pujols and, Matt Holliday and Yadier Molina,
Hmm.
Rafael Furcal, somebody that I grew up playing with. And then like take another step back, like you have these legend veterans that I got to do with Chris Carpenter, Adam Wainwright.
Hmm.
But then I look back too as like the guys that I grew up in the minor leagues with, right? Like David Freese and Daniel Descalzo and Alan Craig,
Hmm.
Jaime Garcia, Fernando Salas. Like we came up in the minor leagues together, and we spent years and years together. And so to be able to win with like all these veterans, but then to have like your boys there that you're still friends with today, I think that's one of the coolest things. Where like these are the guys that like you don't know if you're gonna make it or not, and
Hmm.
you're in Memphis, you're in Springfield, and you're up after a game, and you went 0 for 4, 4 strikeouts, and like you're pumping each other up, and like you're like so I think that was the coolest thing for me is, being able to that special bond. And we saw it in 2021. I was able to come back for the 10-year reunion, and it's like it felt like we never left each other. Like it was one of those like surreal, cool moments where like we had that bond that'll last forever.
Wasn't that crazy that Yachty was still there? Yachty's an absolute legend, bro. Like legend in St. Louis. I hope he does get a coaching job somewhere. I know he was. They were talking about that, but yeah, David Freese is a local guy. That moment for him, I mean, that changed his life forever, bro. That game 6 and then game 7. So, no, it's just cool. It's cool to watch and like being a fan, but it goes way beyond way beyond baseball. But I know there was probably a moment as you were weaning out of your career. You mentioned being a bench guy and doing that. Like, was there was it hard transitioning from being a player to then being like a civilian / coach? Like, what was that transition? Because you got into coaching really quick. You didn't take much time off, did you?
Yeah, man, I was super fortunate. I was super fortunate how this all happened, and I think for me, the big like buffer for me was going to be going back to school, where it just gave me time to like. So when I got done playing, I was like, I don't want to seek a job, right? I want to go back. I want to go to school, just kind of be at home and just kind of figure this out. But it is a transition, right? Like you're used to doing something your whole life. Like I mean, I was used to training since I was 14 years old to,
Mhm.
for baseball and just your routine and all that, and then to be home full time and just there's things that you miss about the game, and there's things you don't miss about the game, right? But
Mhm.
I think it's a transition, right? Like you're so used to doing something, and but like luckily for me, like I said, like my kids are amazing, my family, my wife, my parents, like my sister, like my friends at home, like so I'm lucky that I have a great support system. But
Mhm.
it is a different transition, and then transitioning to coaching, right? Where as a player, even though I tried to be a good teammate or whatever it
Mhm.
was, and like kind of be that presence in the clubhouse, and you're helping guys. But now like my sole purpose is for others, right? It
Mhm.
has nothing to do with myself. Like this is not about me. Coaching is not about yourself. It's just everything's for my players. So it's been fun, and being able to impact other guys, and like I said, like being able to pay it forward, right? Like I was so lucky to have the Albert Pujols, the Yadier Molinas, Matt Hollidays,
Mhm.
the Carlos Beltrans that helped me in my career. And I tell these guys when I speak to them now, like, listen, like, I don't, I'm not talking to you thinking like I don't know anything. Like I learned from so many great guys, Tony La Russa, and like
Mhm.
I got to play for so many organizations, even if one of them was the Cubs, but I got to play with so many different guys. And like when I look back in my career, like, I got to play with so many different MVPs, and like, I was a team of the Goldies,
Mhm.
which is awesome. Learned so much from him. So,
Yeah.
it's cool to pay it forward with these guys. And like I tell them, like, I want you guys to, I want to win with you guys, and I want you guys to be able to take care of your families for the rest of their life, and, go home and help your local communities, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, no, I mean it really is, and like being with the Marlins, that's probably special too. I mean, getting to see that, and you guys got so many young guys on that team. I mean, you guys got some studs over there. You guys gonna make some noise this season or what with the Marlins?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. And that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
And it's fun, right? Like that's what's in training. You start at day zero, and it's a process. And you look at our season last year, like nobody really thought we'd make the playoffs or do what we did. And
Mhm.
that's a testament to Skip.
Mhm.
Skip's St. Louis.
Yeah.
Grew up in St. Louis playing and all that, and
Yeah.
just that attitude. And we learned that there, right? We learned that if you take care of the little things, you never know what's going to happen. And we saw that last year. So it's the same goal this year, right? Like
Mhm.
we got a taste of it, and now it's to expand and continue to grow that. I think we set a good benchmark with the culture here,
Mhm.
and now we're trying to keep that moving forward. And then for me, obviously, like we talked about, like as a player, like I always consider myself a Cardinal, right? Like
Mhm.
that was the bulk of my career. That's where I had ton of most of my success, won a World Series, and like just did so many things. But for me, to be able to coach in my hometown and just be connected to the community where I get to see friends and family, and like just host different groups of people and
Mhm.
do things like that. It's been a lot of fun for me to really get involved in the community there in Miami for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. So going back to the J Family Foundation, really, you guys are really heating up with it. I mean, do you guys have a long term vision? Is it just one step at a time, helping one kid at a time, or like where do you see the Family Foundation going, and like what is that like? Let's say 5-year mission for you guys. Like where are you going to be at maybe in 2029?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing as life in baseball, right? And the same thing as being a dad, right? It's one day at a time, but like, eventually it would be great to, raise a ton of money every single year and have, multiple events, continue to have an event in St. Louis every year, continue to have an event in Miami every year, and just help where help is needed, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you never know what's going to happen in the world and going forward, the future and all that. But I think, one day at a time, but yeah, I would love this to last forever. I would love for one day my kids, this be part of our legacy, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's great what we did on the field, all that's great, but like, you know, I would love, you know, to continue what we do off the field and make an impact and be able to do that, you know, and that's something that was cool. You know, when I talked about those bowling events we had in the past, you know, we were able to raise, I think it was like $600,000, you know, over that time frame, which, you know, went to the Boys and Girls Club, which was a place where I grew up playing. So, you know, knowing that money went to a great cause and helping others. So, you know, in 5 years, hopefully, you know, we have this event going on every year in St. Louis. We have an event going on every year in Miami, and we're expanding. And then, you know, by that, in 5 years, my kids will be like 12, 13 years old. So they'll get a better grip on all these things. And hopefully one day they continue this, you know, well past when I'm gone. So that's kind of what I envision with this.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it's amazing to do it because you don't have to do it, and that's the thing. Is what's so beautiful about philanthropy is you're using the platform that you have, the following, the people that know you and respect you, but you're channeling that into, you know, making these moments. Because at the end of the day, the golf tournament's going to be fun, but what happens after the golf tournament is really the real impact of what happens after that. And St. Louis is going to show out, man. I mean, they're gonna show up. We always do the raffles, bro. We go hard with the raffles, you know, and of course drink some beers, have a good time. But yeah, the Family Golf and Learning Center. We're gonna drop some show notes where you guys can email that and then you know, buy some tickets, buy some teams. To get out there. But I want to talk about St. Louis just a little bit more before we wrap up. So you lived here a lot. You're still here a lot. I'm a big foodie. That's why we started our page. I want to hear about some of your foodie spots in St. Louis. You said you're Cuban. You know, we don't have Cuban food like Miami, but tell us about some of the foodie spots that you like in St. Louis that maybe you and your wife do some date nights at.
Yeah, well, I mean, we always get our Italian fix in St. Louis, right? So, I mean, Paul Manos is our number one spot, you know, by far. And like, if
That's
we
a
have
hidden
date
gem.
night,
People don't talk about that spot enough. Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. And I'm you know, I'm very particular. Like I like going to the same places. My wife loves to go to different places, but like Paul Manos is like our spot for sure. And you know, the kids, you know, another spot that's super easy and we love is Brick Tops. Brick Tops is like a spot that we go to a bunch and all that. But you know, I think for us, breakfast is really where it's at. You know, half and half is you know, one of our shots. The Shack is one of our spots as well. So, I mean, I think half and half would be like the breakfast spot, and then for dinner for sure. I don't know, Paul Manos. You know, we've done the Louis. You know, we like the Louis a lot. Yeah. Before, you know, we used to love Central West End. You know, when I was playing, especially, you know, we used to Sub-Zero was our spot in Gambling Whiskey. We used to like be there all the time, all the time.
Now
but
you're a little too old to hang out at the whiskey bar.
Yeah, well, we don't hang out like, and that's a cool thing. Like, you know, when we're in St. Louis, you know, we really just, you know, it's kids, family. We're just hanging out. It's cool. But you know, obviously Napoli, we go to Napoli a bunch. That's always been cool. And then I think like Adriano's in the Hill, you know, for sandwich is a spot. But I say Paul Manos is the spot, but you know, we do a lot of cooking more so now than we did before. But Paul Manos is, oh man, it's delicious.
In that place, like I heard, and a couple people on the podcast had mentioned that, and they're like, dude, it like feels like you're in a movie, you know, because it's this old classic spot. Like the servers have been working there for like 50 years. Like these are like authentic Italian, you know, people, and we take that for granted in St. Louis. We have, you know, one of the best Italian neighborhoods in all of the city, right here in the middle of St. Louis. But yeah, I'm a big foodie. Half and half is good. The Shack is good. Those boozy milkshakes, they got it all going on at the Shack. That's crazy. Like, what about like any like parks or events? Do you guys hang out? Like, you guys do any like parks, any like bucket list spots that you guys go to?
Well, it was cool. We got to do like for July 4th when I was here in the summer, we got to do Kirkwood Park, which is awesome. I mean, they put on a great display and all that. But you know, go to the Pear Park. We do you know, I'm at my museum. I'm at the what are the other spots? What are the indoor spots in Kirkwood? It's not coming off the top of my head right now, but we spent a lot of time there. Yeah. The Science Center, you know, so we do that.
Oh, the Magic House. Obviously. The Magic House.
The Magic House. Magic House. There it is. Magic House. My kids love the Magic House. So like during the holiday break, we probably went twice a week. That's kind of our bonding thing. But you know, the zoo is obviously incredible. We do that a bunch. You know, Forest Park is great to go to Forest Park. You know, get lunch there, and then you know we rent the kayaks and all that. So I mean, there's so many, you know, great things about St. Louis. And for me, one thing that's impressive for me is the parks. And you'll see that now, right? Like as before you're a parent, you just kind of drive around, you're like, and then now you start saying, oh, look, there's a park there. That's great. Here's a park here. That's great. So
in the parking, you're like, oh, I could park here and we could sit on the patio. Like when you're in Miami, you can't bring your kids around when you got a stroller. You're like, man, I don't know if I can go there.
and I'm forgetting the name of the park right now, but it's off of Clayton Road, and they got the horses set up there, and my kids love that because we can go see horses. Like you can't see, like there's nowhere else in the country
Yeah,
where you can
they got
just
Grant's
go to a
Farm. They got Grant's Farm, which
Grant's
is like,
Farm's
yeah,
Grant's Farm's amazing. We do Grant's Farm a bunch as
yeah.
well. Grant's Farm's really cool too. So like I said, now I'm for me, like you can tell, it's all about the kids, right? Like so we don't get out to eat as much and do all that
I'm
stuff.
feeling
But
that, bro. It's only been a month, and I'm like, we haven't went out
yeah,
to a restaurant yet, and I'm like, man, we used to go out like 3-4 times a week, and but no, it's different now. It's like whatever she wants to go, and now we'll do different. But yeah, you mentioned Louis. Drake was just at Louis last week. Drake came after his show, and he rented out.
that's his spot now. But I love to say that we were going there before Drake went there. Yeah, and I heard he takes over at night and every
It
single
was
time.
like 3 in the morning, bro. He like bought the whole restaurant. I'm like, that Drake money is different, bro. Like he came in and rented the whole spot. But yeah, Louis is a good spot. But yeah, there's so many good. I feel like you live in Miami, which is such a good food city. But for the size of St. Louis, I feel like the amount of great restaurants we have is underrated. And the way, do people recognize you when you still go out? People like, hey, John, like they recognize you a lot, or what's that like when you go out?
Yeah, St. Louis for sure. It's so and it's cool. What I love about it, it's like so genuine. It's, like I said, there's always that story of like, hey, I used to watch with my grandparents or what, like, and that for me that's super cool, right? It's not just like the whole like just ball, like just like hey, and I appreciate that, and everyone goes about it the right way, right? So obviously every once in a while something crazy might happen, but
Yeah.
for the most part everyone's super respectful, which you really appreciate, and it's like, hey, thank you so much for your contributions to the city, thank you so much for what you brought to the city, and that's something that it's appreciated, right? It's not like I don't take that for granted.
And
where
you can humble your kids a little bit when they get a little older. You walk around, you're like, yeah, your dad was a legend, because they probably like they probably don't even realize the magnitude of it, until they get a little older, and then they start recognizing you when you go out. And that's all we want. We just want our kids to think we're cool, right?
That's all it's about. It's all about. That's it. That's it.
Well, I appreciate you for coming on, man. I know you got team dinner, but I'm going to drop some links. If you want to leave people with just some social medias on how to follow you and stay up to date with what you got going on. You guys have an individual Instagram for the Jay Family Foundation, correct?
Yeah. So the Instagram's Jay Family Foundation, Jay Fam Foundation, and then my personal Instagram's Jon Jay, JONJAYU. And then something I wanted to say about the event that's pretty cool. So Family Golf has they got golf simulators, there's base. So we're going to be having a closest to the pin competition going on outside, and a lawn drive competition going on the whole time. So it's a family friendly event. I love having events where you can bring kids, right? Like I don't like screwing the kids. So kids can come out, like I said, it starts early, 5 to 9. It's on a Friday night, which is super rare. So it's pretty cool. And then, like I said, the facility is just unbelievable. And what they've been able to do there, and just helping out with junior golf in St. Louis, and really with PGA Reach, and, Adam Betts, the wonderful things he's doing there. It's pretty cool. So I would expect, St. Louis to have a lot of golfers coming out of a Family Golf and Learning Center with what they're able to do there and provide.
Yeah, we'll be there 100%. Any like sneak peeks on any people that are going to be there, like any players? Because all the Cardinals are going to be in town that weekend. So
yeah, we're still working on that. Obviously, it's tough with obviously I'm very respectful of the time, so I'm reaching out to guys right now as well. But Daniel Descalzo, who's the bench coach and was part of the 2011 World Series, so he'll definitely be there.
Waino's off, man. Waino's got time. Hit up Waino. He's got time.
We
He's
gotta
bored,
make sure
man.
he's in town, because he's a big MLB Network guy now.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So we're reaching out to guys, but Daniel Descalzo will definitely be there for sure, and we'll have a few surprises for sure.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate it, John, man. Thank you for your time, and thank you for what you're doing and continue to do for St. Louis. I appreciate it, bro.
Thanks for having me. And hey, congrats on fatherhood. It's the best. And, like we said, one day at a time, and patience is key.
I'm going to be up there at your event, bro. I'm going to be there with the stroller, bro. I'm going to try to get like one beer in. That's usually my thing. I get like one, because we got to be home every 3 hours, bro. We got to feed every 3 hours. It's a grind, bro. All right. Appreciate it, John. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep. See you. Thanks again for tuning in to the STL Bucket List Show. This podcast is presented by Bankhead and Firth Ortho. Bankhead and Firth is family-friendly and family-focused right here in St. Louis. They just celebrated their 50-year anniversary, and they have 5 locations that are all near you right here in St. Louis. Head over to their website at bankheadandfirthortho.com.
Today, they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.